about. And so we're going to get to Gena in a minute, but first I want to remind you why we're here and what we're doing and who I am. So I am Brooke. I'm the owner and the creator of Homeschool Resource Co. I'm also the blogger behind The Fervent Mama. I started blogging about 8 years ago and really just wanted to bless homeschool moms and homeschool parents and help them. And that's kind of how Homeschool Resource Co. was born, from a need that I saw in the community and thought that I could fill it. So we work together with brands and bloggers to bring you amazing content like this, both free and paid content. These webinars, it's a whole series where we've gone through, and we've already talked with Nicole, the math lady, and then John Knotgrass yesterday. And then we have a full lineup next week from IEW and Cindy from Nature Explorers. And then who else do we have? Nathan from Bible Quest. So we've got a full lineup for you next week too. So this whole series has actually been sponsored by us this time. We're putting this on to promote the Homeschool Collection, which it went live this morning. Sorry guys, I think I did that full screen. It was supposed to be a pop-up, but you can just exit out of it if you need, and we'll put a pop-up up there in just a minute. Let's see. There we go. So the Homeschool Collection is 50 products that we're giving you for 97% off. Along with that, we have a full vendor collection that includes over 30 freebies, offers, and discount codes and things like that from our brands and sponsors. And then there's also a little special perk after you purchase that you can check out as well. So we give you lots of free stuff, lots of great content in there. Gena actually has some products in there as well, and I'll let her talk about that later. So we'll kind of dive into things right away. The first thing I do want to mention is there's a chat option. The more you participate, the better your chances are for winning some of our prizes and freebies as you participate. There's also some polls that are going to come up. Those are also chances for you to win. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat. You can ask me or Gena, and we'll cover as many as we can, as well as our little loose agenda we have today. So Gena, I'm going to pass it over to you. And why don't you tell us who you are and what Music in Our Homeschool is about?
All right. Thank you. It's so fun to be here, Brooke. Thanks for asking me. My name is Gena Mayo, and I'm originally from Texas, but I have lived in Illinois for the last 22 years. And I'm a music teacher. That was what I went to college for, and I started teaching in the public school system. And when I had my first child, we moved from Texas to Illinois, and I decided I wanted to homeschool. So then I started teaching music because I had a baby. I wanted to teach early childhood music and movement classes, so I started teaching those. And I have taught those music garden type classes ever since. So like 21 years, I've either taught it at my home or our homeschool co-op, different places. So I've also taught music at a theater class. I teach voice classes, and I'm a musical director for full-scale musicals, so I love doing that. So just all kinds of different music. I love teaching music theory. I love teaching singing, all kinds of different ways. So I started musicinourhomeschool.com in 2015 because I started realizing that a lot of homeschool moms didn't have the tools or the confidence to teach music in their homeschools, so they were just not doing it at all. So I wanted to give them resources and give them encouragement and ideas to include music in their homeschools. So that's what I do.
I think we both may be having a little bit of connection issues. I'm not losing you as far as your voice goes, but your video is slowed, and I'm seeing the same thing for myself.
Okay.
So if that happens, everybody just kind of bear with us. I was telling Gena before we came on, I'm in Louisiana, and it's always stormy summer, and we're having a storm roll in right now. So it's a little wonky as far as internet goes right now. And then I've got a little sick kiddo here. And so just bear with us as we try to help you guys out. Again, this is live. We see your chats as they come through. We are here to help you, and we're also homeschool parents ourselves. And so we just want to help you guys because this is real life. We are in the trenches right there with you. That's one thing I always like to say about Homeschool Resource Co. is it's made for homeschoolers by homeschoolers. So that's what's important to remember is we're right there in the trenches with you, and that's how all of this comes about. So it looks like we have somebody in the chat that says that they can hear us without interruption. So that's the most important part right now.
Yes, at least you can hear us, right?
So if we're a little slow, if we end up paused on a silly face, just bear with us.
Okay. And I actually forgot to tell you about my own kids. So
Yeah.
I said I started homeschooling when I had my first child in 2000. So he's 21 now. My oldest 3 have graduated from my homeschool. And so this year I still have 3 homeschooled high schoolers, a middle schooler, and an elementary kid. So 8 kids total. So yes, I am definitely in the trenches with all of you.
Right. Gena has 8 and I have 5. One thing I did want to say is I was really excited about this webinar because I started learning piano probably 5 or 6 years ago, I guess, and never really did anything with it. I just kind of knew the basics and just kind of moved on. But as you know, the conditions of our culture, I guess you could say, are getting worse. We found ourselves watching less TV with our kids. We found ourselves just finding hobbies and things to participate in as a family. And my husband told us a few months ago, he said, let's all learn an instrument. So me and my daughter are learning piano. We have music lessons every week. And then my son is learning the drums and my husband is teaching himself the bass because we pastor as well. So we're super busy and always have something going on, but it's always fun that we can come together as a family and do this as a family. So that's why I was so excited about this, because there's so much joy that comes with learning music and participating in music.
That is wonderful. I love how you are all learning those instruments together.
We have somebody, I wanted to mention this. They said, we love our membership to Music in Our Homeschool. Highly recommend, especially for moms like me who didn't feel confident teaching music. Now it's part of our everyday morning time, thanks to Miss Gena.
Oh,
so
yay.
that just shows you right there what a privilege and an honor it is to have Gena with us, because she's in homes every day, virtually through memberships, through courses. She's participated with Homeschool Resource Co. For a few years now, I think since we got started, maybe.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a joy just to have her with us as well. So I'm going to browse through the chat for a minute and make sure we don't have any questions, because I do hear it going off. I'm going to ask you a question. We'll start off talking about electives and then we'll move toward a music focus. So Tell us, what is an elective and what does it mean for you?
So an elective, especially in the high school years, is basically any class that isn't part of the core of math, language arts, science, and history. So it could be fine arts, it could be physical education, it could be foreign language, computer science. So anything that's not part of that main core would be considered an elective. And to me, I think the best thing about electives is that it's where the kid can have their interests. They can explore their interests if they're interested in coding, or if they're interested in playing the cello, or whatever it is. I have a son who just absolutely adores foreign languages. He is studying Swedish and Korean and Hawaiian all on his own. So I just love that kids can actually do these electives and get really deep into it. And then they might find out if they are interested in pursuing that even more in college or as a career, or they could find out, no, actually, that's not the direction I want to go in. And I will say also that a lot of times colleges will look at those electives that the student took in high school to determine whether they might be a good fit or not for their particular college.
What language, that's the word I was looking for. What language course is your son using, and how old is he? Which one is that?
He is about to be a sophomore in high school, and he started out with Duolingo and the app, But then he comes to me every month or so and says, I found this new app. I want to try the free trial for it to see if it's any good. So I don't even know which ones he's using now, because he just he keeps exploring and finding things that he thinks will help him learn better.
Is he actually diving into these and like fully learning them, or is he just kind of browsing around and seeing which ones fit for him before he goes into it?
Yeah, I don't know actually how far deep he gets into them. I know Swedish, he was actually pretty serious. And at the beginning of his ninth grade year, he thought he wanted to study that for high school. But he changed his mind and went to Spanish, which I'm really thankful for, because I had a really hard time finding a Swedish class for him, as a homeschooler. But anyway, I could really see that he might be doing something like that in college, become a translator or, something along those lines. And he actually really loves grammar, because he has to understand the grammar to understand how the language syntax works. So it's beyond me.
When did you say when you moved from Texas?
Yeah, that was in the year 2000 when my first child was about to be born. My
Okay, 'cause
husband is from this area.
I was thinking it'd be really funny to hear somebody with a really Southern accent trying to speak Swedish.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we all sound like Midwesterners now. But I can
Yeah,
still talk
I
Texan if I want to.
I wouldn't have known that you were from Texas. I didn't think I have ever heard that before.
Yeah.
So I have some polls going, and let me see if I can get those open.
Okay.
So we have the majority of people who answered said that they do use electives in their homeschool. So that's great. Most of them, let's see, we have 2 using music, 1 and a couple other people that didn't give really an example. Some of them are doing things like singing, which I know you also work with. That is considered music. And
Yes.
then one of the things that I asked is, do you have a struggle with teaching or choosing electives? So one said that I'm not sure what electives to choose. My daughter is very interested in art, so I'm leaning that way. So let's kind of talk about how you choose electives for your homeschool, or how you generate your kids' interest in choosing those electives. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So when my kids were in elementary school, I would pretty much choose for them, because I had so many kids so close together. There's 8 within 11 years, that just for my own sanity, I had to combine them as much as possible. So I would just say, okay, this is the music we're learning this year, or this is the art curriculum we're doing. This is this foreign language we're doing, whatever it was for the elective. And they would just do it. As they moved more into middle school and definitely high school, I let them have more say in that. And because they could do it more independently then. And like I said, my high schooler son that does his own apps for foreign language. So once they can do it independently, I let them just take off with it and help choose the best one for them.
So what do you find is you talked about elementary, what do you find is a good grade to start implementing electives? Do you start them right away, or do you kind of just follow your kids' interests in unit studies and things like that? Or how do you work that in your homeschool?
Well, I would definitely say even go back earlier with toddlers and preschoolers. They should have music and art. It doesn't have to be organized. It could be just mom turning on music and dancing with her child, or getting out the pots and pans and helping them learn to play on a steady beat. If you don't want anything organized, like the early childhood music and movement classes that I teach. But I do think it's important for kids, and with art, to start learning how to color, and with the fine motor skills that they get with that, and how much fun it is too. I mean, it's really fun for kids to finger paint and make crafts. And so start as early as you can. That's my advice for that.
Yeah, that's one thing that we kind of hone in on doing here in our own homeschool is we participate in, when our kids are very little, those small activities and play-based schooling and things like that. So I think that's a great way. And even if you aren't interested in that, or you can't, or you feel like you're not sure exactly what to do, then there's people like Gena who have those classes that you can participate in as well.
Yes. Oh, and I'd also say if learning a foreign language is important for your family, start that as early as you can, because the earlier, the easier it is for the child to learn.
So I know a lot of people always say, I don't feel like I have the ability or the capability or the knowledge to teach that or do that. A lot of times we feel like that in our schooling where we have to participate in relearning those things with them, like for example, grammar and sentence structure and things like that. We don't always remember those things,
Mhm.
even if we were good students. There are things that I was telling my husband the other day. I don't even remember what it was, but I said, I had to relearn that so that I could teach Johanna, which is my oldest. And he was laughing at me. And I was like, yeah, I mean, we're in school too. So what do you tell to parents who feel like they have that inability to teach something like an elective, like a foreign language or music or something like that?
That's that's what's so awesome about being in this time and homeschooling, because there's so many resources out there. If you can't do anything else, I mean, if you can't afford to pay for a teacher or anything, you can find it on YouTube for free. So that's the wonderful thing about being at this time period. Um, there is a teacher out there who can help you learn whatever it is you want your child to learn or whatever they want to learn.
Right. And so we don't have to, I mean, and this is going to, for lack of a better phrase or words to use, you don't necessarily have to learn it or teach it.
Hmm.
You can pay someone to do it, or you can find free videos. And if you want to participate in it, then great. Like for instance, Gina has 8 kids, and she was talking about her son and how interested he is in language, but she couldn't really tell you how far deep he is in it because, we don't have to be like there in the trenches with them learning how to speak Swedish if that's not what we're interested in. We
Right.
can,
That
we
would
can
be really hard for me.
find um we have a question that says, what are your favorite suggestions to combine interests of electives for middle schoolers and 2 elementary kids? So I'm going to kind of take a spin on that question and say, how can you do a family elective? Or if you're not interested in teaching a family elective, how can you still make time to do different teachings on interests for electives?
Mhm. Well, I'll give you an example of one that I did for all of my kids last year. So they were in 4th grade through 9th grade. And I had that group of kids together, and we were doing a music history course that went along with the same time period as the history that we were studying, which was the 1800s. So to make it work for both of the ages, I just kind of watch the kids and I think, how long should I play this music for? Are they interested in it? Then maybe I'll go for a few minutes. If it's music that's a little more difficult or everyone's getting antsy, then I'll shorten it. I just think that it's really easy to adjust a curriculum to make it work for you and your kids. You don't have to do exactly what it says and the entire thing. Just take and pick from it. I'm a bit of a Charlotte Mason inspired homeschooler, and so I like short lessons anyway. So that's my advice for making something work for multiple ages.
I think sometimes we get in our own heads and we try to do a little bit of everything just because we feel like that's what we need to.
Hmm.
And we forget that, we teach in our homeschool all the time. We teach family style in our homeschool, or we work with each child individually. So how can we use that same method when it comes to something like an elective or
Hmm.
schooling or, anything? Um, and how you can incorporate that into your everyday lessons. Like it doesn't have to be, okay, for an hour today, we're going to focus on music and everybody's going to play an instrument and we're going to learn this song. Like it doesn't have to be a chore. Like if
Yeah.
you're, like Gina said, if you're working on a history study about the 1800s, find some music to play and include that in there. If you're out in the garden, find something that is going to work with that. Like John mentioned it yesterday. it was one of the Little House songs he sung, and it was about the gum tree canoe. That's
Oh,
ways
okay.
that you can tie those in together and make it work for you. He's all learning about history, and they're exploring, Little House things, but then he brought that song in and made it fun for his whole family and how they all learned it together. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that strict one-on-one schedule where
Yes.
we're all going to do this, but we can learn it together and on different levels. That's one thing that we're learning in our music lessons. We have a friend who comes and teaches us. We do 30-minute lessons, but now that we all kind of have the basics, we're all playing together. And like, I'm on a different level than my daughter is, and
Uh-huh.
my son's the only drummer. So, but we always, like, I can play, and then he'll bring them in and we'll play together and things like that. So it's always fun to do it together family style, but it's also not necessary if that doesn't
Mhm.
fit your family.
Right. Exactly. I love the flexibility. I love giving lots of options with the courses that I've created to make it like I wrote a curriculum, the high school music history curriculum, so that kids can use it for high school credit, but it can be taught for kindergarten on up. And I actually taught it that way at our homeschool co-op. You just have to learn how to simplify it, play less music, tell a little less details about the composer, and it works for all ages.
We have someone that said, can we hear more about what to do for music for younger students? So I know one thing that you mentioned was pulling out pots and pans and
Mhm.
just listening and things like that. So do you have any more ideas? Or let's talk about, I know you have an elementary course, but what else do you have for young kids?
I have one preschool course that's 10 songs all preschoolers should know. So that is a really awesome one because you're actually teaching kids songs and you're learning to sing together these fun songs that maybe you remember when you were a child and you forgot about. So those are fun. I actually have 16 elementary courses. So you can go through them in order. A lot of the lessons are related to holidays or special days. I have a 15-minute music lesson course. Yeah, that's the music lessons for holidays and special days there. And I have lots of fun other types like learning to play the recorder. This is a brand new course that came out this year. So that can start about age 8. And I hired this man named Mr. Jerry who teaches recorder because I had never taught it and he's taught it for years. So he's amazing. That's a really fun course. I see that someone mentioned that music and cartoons. So that's learn classical music through cartoons. So you play those cartoons like Bugs Bunny and the Lion Riders and some from Fantasia. So many different fun cartoons, and you're learning about classical music that way. So that makes it really accessible for both the mom and the kids. So those are a few. If you go over to learn.musicinourhomeschool.com, you'll see a list of all the courses there.
I'm gonna put that over in the chat.
Okay.
Learn.musicinourhomeschool.com. Okay, I think that's right. You mentioned music lessons for holidays and special days. Gena is very generously offering a coupon code until the end of the month, so until July 31st, for 30% off of that course for anyone who's a reader of ours. So if you use that coupon, Music for Holidays 30, and go to learn.musicinourhomeschool.com, or if you hit that buy now button that's on the pop-up that just slid out for you, you can get that course for 30% off. But before we move further, I'm going to do a lucky draw. And personally, I didn't tell Gena I was going to do this, but
Okay.
Homeschool Resource Co. is going to pay for someone to going to buy that course on behalf of someone.
Oh, fun.
So we're going to draw from the audience who is here with us today. Let's see. I'm going to say this name, but if I am wrong, please correct me. Felissa Russell or Felisa Russell. But if you are still in here, if you can either private chat me and send me your email, or you can send me an email at hello@homeschoolresourceco.com. And I'll contact you tonight after things kind of wrap up from the day. And I'll talk with Gena on how we can get that over to you. So, Felissa, congratulations. You just won the Music for Holidays and Special Days.
All right.
So I think I saw something in the poll that I wanted to mention. If you can't afford the curriculum for an elective, then what sources can you use? Also, can you create your own elective course with the intention of fulfilling requirements for college? So I want to mention this because I think it's important to mention that you don't necessarily have to buy a course or a program or anything like that to fulfill an elective. You can, you may want to check your laws, your state laws, your school laws, and everything where you live. But personally, I was a public school kid, and the way that we did it is we just did service hours. A lot of times, we did have to take a foreign language course, but we did service hours and participating in our community and things like that, and had to get that signed off. And I'm pretty sure that's still how it works for homeschools in Louisiana. And one thing that I mentioned with John yesterday was about how you can use what you have. You can use your community. If you know a farmer, go learn about working on the farm. If we have a couple doors down from us. I say a couple doors down, but we live on 17 acres. So a couple fields down from us, we have some people who have a petting zoo, and my kids love going over there. Go work for the petting zoo, or go learn about the animals, or see what you can do in your homeschool. Talk to the ladies at the grocery store. Utilize your community. Work for your library. Volunteer at your church. Those are things that aren't necessarily considered electives a lot of times, but we learn and we glean so much from those things that they can be considered that if we can make them a learning experience, if we can learn from someone. So that's my take on it. But let's let Gena, who is, I don't like to call myself an expert. Gena's the expert. Let's talk about, how do you feel about creating curriculums, and can you do that to fulfill requirements for college?
I love those ideas, Brooke. Those are great. I do have a post at musicinourhomeschool.com/high school that lists all kinds of ways that you can create your own fine arts credit. So if you happen to be a part of a state that says you need a fine arts credit on your high school transcript, then you can find something on the list in that post to create for yourself. I tell you how to count up the hours, how to log them, different ideas for what to do, like books to read, speeches to give, field trips to take, all kinds of ideas for you to create that fine arts credit yourself. And of course, you can expand that to be any type of elective. Like my son with the foreign language, I told him that I was going to create a foreign language. I think I called it syntax or something like that for one semester of his freshman year. That was on his transcript. And then he also started creating music on this other app. I think it's called Auxy, AUXY. And he would create digital music and show me play it for me. And so that was another credit that I created for him, called a digital music elective. And we just made it up ourselves. And as long as they're doing enough hours, and you can look at that blog post, musicinourhomeschool.com/high school, to figure out how to count the hours, then yes, you can create it yourself. The other part of your question was something about, do you have to pay? I think that's what it was. And I'll tell you that my oldest son, who almost became a music major in college, he was considering it, and now he switched to journalism and political science. But when he was in 7th grade, he really wanted to learn the guitar. So my husband taught him a few basics, but he was too busy to keep working like regimentedly with him on lessons each week. So he learned basically all the things he needed on YouTube with free videos. So like I said before, you can pretty much find anything there, and at least to get you started. And then maybe after you've gotten started, you can just keep working on it on your own, or maybe, like you said, like Brooke said, find a friend in the community that can help you go even further. You could trade back and forth. Maybe you can clean their house for them or make food meals for them, and they can teach your child something that is for their elective. So many ideas and ways to make it work for you.
Yeah, we utilize YouTube a lot, like a lot. Like my husband calls himself the YouTube mechanic because that's how he works on all of our vehicles and all is through YouTube. He figures everything out. He taught himself to sew
Wow.
off of YouTube, which is hilarious because my husband is you would never think he'd know how to sew, and he doesn't sew very well, but he needed to hem a pair of pants and he didn't want to have to pay someone to do it, so he learned how to sew from YouTube.
Sewing is another great elective.
Right, it is, yeah.
And cooking, and oh my gosh, the cooking videos, there's tons of those.
Oh, absolutely. We've used quite a few different little what do you call them, like monthly programs and memberships that get sent to you so you can try them out and things. We've used a lot of those for our kids and in our homeschool.
Fun.
Let's talk about a music myth. What is one thing that you consider or that you hear a lot about music that is an absolute myth? And then I want you to debunk that myth.
Okay. So we hear a lot from both homeschoolers and in the public school system, probably private schools too, that music is not important to include in the school or in the curriculum. I definitely think that's a myth. There is so much that kids get out of music that they can't really get out of anything else. They're learning a different language. Learning to read music is kind of like learning a different language. It's using parts of your brain that you are not using when you're doing other things. You are learning to work together with others. If you are in an ensemble, you're learning those relationship skills. You're learning so much perseverance and organization and like scheduling, when you have to figure out when you're going to practice and how much practice you need and to make sure you get it done to be ready for your performance. Let's see. It's such a relaxing thing. And I think that it's important for kids to have something that's relaxing and fun, because some of the other subjects, depending on the child, are just really hard for them. Maybe learning to read or doing math or studying science or even history. I love history, but I know some people really don't. But music can be fun for everybody. If you just find the right type of music, if you do it through cartoons, or if you do it through playing an instrument that they enjoy, or singing, or just find the type of music. And I just think that is so important. And I want to see if I added anything else. Okay, so it helps them become more creative, uses their imagination. It helps them understand other cultures and historical eras. I love this one because sometimes like you were saying with the little house books, you can't really learn as much about a culture, a place, a people group if you don't study their music and their dances. And so I love that part of learning music. It increases their memory skills. It increases their work ethic. I think I got everything. So it's a myth to say you don't need music in your curriculum.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I like about your courses and all is that you don't necessarily have to learn an instrument for it to be considered music.
Right.
You can learn about music. You can learn about the culture behind certain songs and the reasons that they were created, and tie that into history, or how the English language has transformed from the old hymns to now, or all of those things can be tied together. And that's what fun it is about music. I personally think that especially since we're learning, I'll be what, 30 this year, I think. And I've got 5 kids, and I run 2 businesses, and we have 17 acres, and then we pastor, and my husband has a full-time job. So we're always busy. So I question, taking that on. Do we have time? Oh, baby. Should we have, or do we have time, or should we take the time to do it? And it has been such a blessing for our family, and such a way to really learn and grow together as well. So like you said, there's so much to learn from music. There's so many things that are involved with it that don't always mean actually learning an instrument.
Yes. And I'll also say that I want to encourage moms that, from my perspective, including music in your homeschool means that you're at least doing it one day a week. And if 15 minutes is all you have, then do 15 minutes once a week. And that is better than nothing.
Yeah, someone said that I believe I heard that there's a connection between music and math. I just want to throw out there that you can consider music lessons if you are memorizing your math facts and singing them or anything like that. It takes it just to sing a song or to creatively come up with a beat so that you can remember random facts or anything like that. There's your music right there. We stop making everything so complicated.
Mm-hmm.
I tell myself that all the time. So I'm not fussing at you guys. I tell myself that all the time that, why do we have to complicate things when they can be so simple?
Yeah, that's really good encouragement.
Let's see. What else did we have? I wanted to go through the chat really quick and make sure there's nothing else in there. So something else we wanted to talk about was what is a hack for getting kids excited about music? So if we have kids who they like to listen to music, but don't necessarily want to participate in a song or in an instrument or things like that, what is a hack that you have to get them interested?
So my hack is to sneak it in. So just play it when they're eating or you're driving in the car, when you are doing bath time or chore time or play time or handicraft time. Just play the music in the background. You maybe don't even have to tell them what it is, but at least they're starting to hear it. And sometimes it just takes multiple hearings of, say, a Mozart symphony or Scott Joplin ragtime music, multiple hearings, and then they start to like it because now they've heard it. They understand how it works. They understand how it goes. And yes, that type of music is much more heady and much more intellectual than just pop music or the regular worship music you hear in church, not the hymns, but the regular worship music. It's much more complicated. And so it does take a little bit different area of your brain to listen to it, but multiple hearings will really help. So that's one of my little hacks. I had already mentioned using the cartoons, but also you can make instruments or even just use some simple instruments like this, like a little jingle or rhythm sticks or a hand drum or something, and play along with it. And that usually makes it more fun for kids too.
Do you have a course about creating instruments?
I have just a blog post.
I thought I saw something.
Yeah. musicinourhomeschool.com/homemade instruments. You can find it there.
Is there, let's see, homemade, there's a dash between that?
No, it's just
No dash?
no dash.
Okay, I think that link will take you there, but I thought I saw something about that. That goes along with my what I just said about not complicating things. Using your kids' interest to drive it, and you playing. I remember reading when we first started our homeschool. I had read a quote, or it might have been a story about a girl who talked about how she always has something playing in the background. Not TV, but she always has music or a podcast or something going on, and how her kids would recognize when it wasn't there, and how her kids would recognize when something was new, and how things would become a talking point for them, or if it was a podcast or an audiobook, how they would come to her and be like, can we listen to the next one? And she would not even think they were paying attention or anything like that. Or, just recognizing those things. And instead of letting, or how it changes our attitudes, the Bible talks about making melody in our heart and always being in prayer and supplication to God. And that's what music does. Music makes us feel a certain way. And that's why it's so important to, that little song, Be Careful, little ears what you hear, all of those things, because music makes an impact on us. If you want your kids to be lively and to jump around and be excited, we can play fun music. But if you want them to calm down, then we'll play something softer. Or if
Yeah.
you want them to pay attention or to be thinking, then we can play something classical or just instrumental or things like that. Like, there's all kinds of ways that you can throw music or an elective in there and still not complicate it.
You reminded me of a couple more things that you could do, and one of them is to use books. I have so many of these kinds of books where, like, you're listening to the music of Prokofiev's Peter and the Wolf and reading the book along with it, or a book about the Nutcracker by Tchaikovsky, and this is telling the story of it. So I love using picture books to help teach music too. You can do picture books of songs like this one, Hush Little Baby. So whenever I would put my kids down for a nap, I would read to them before they'd go for a nap. But if it was a book like this, I would sing the song to them. So that made it super fun because they were hearing me sing. The words are in the book. There are so many of these kinds of books in the library. I love them. And then if you're in the car, these are really neat. The Maestro Classics, because they tell a story along with the music. Like this one's about the Sorcerer's Apprentice by Dukas. And so those are fun. And you mentioned podcasts. There are some music podcasts too. One is Classics for Kids, where the lady is teaching you about the music and really short snippets. Like they're usually less than 10 minutes. And so she's telling you something about the composer or the music. So many different free ways to include music in your homeschool.
All right. So I put up another little offer slide out. Gena's also giving, while she's giving that 30% off to that specific course, and there's another course that she's given 30% off to that I'm going to let her talk about in a second. But if you go to Music in Our Homeschool, she's giving 20% off. Oh, it says 40 up there at the top, but it is 20% off of any course when you use that coupon. And that's excluding her memberships, because there's a special bonus about that we're going to talk about later too. So if you guys want to write that down, and then let's talk about, and we've kind of talked about this through the whole webinar, but let's go into if your child doesn't plan on how did I write this? If your child doesn't plan on pursuing a career or is even interested in music, are your courses a good fit for them?
Okay, so that's a really great question. I'm not even sure I quite said it like this, but I think that every student, no matter what they're going to do after high school, whether going straight to a job, the Army, college, whatever it is, if they're special needs, I think every student needs to have a fine arts credit in high school. And you can choose what type of fine art it is. It doesn't have to be music. It could be art, drawing, sculpture. It could be dance. It could be theater. It could be theater as far as studying films. Maybe you're not acting. I mean, there's just so many ways to do it. But do my courses work for that type of student? Yes, they do, because you do not have to have a background in music for any of my high school level courses. I have 5 of them, and there are 2 more that are inside the membership. One of them inside the membership would require some prerequisites because it's advanced music theory. I mean, very high level music theory. So that would be only for a student that's probably going to become a music major. But the others, you do not have to have a music background to be able to take those.
What about, let's talk about this other offer that you are giving our audience, which, let's see, I'm going to slide it out there. The 30% of the hymns of the faith, a hymn study for all ages. If you go to her website and you can enter that coupon code there, tell us about that course.
So Great Hymns of the Faith is a course that I wrote a few years ago, and it is still one of my most popular courses. I know that people love it. I got the music that is included. It's a digital course, so it's all online, but you can print it out and it's actual sheet music, and you get 4-part harmony. So you're learning. So say, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. This is the soprano part. This one's the alto, and then there's tenor and bass. And then I teach you how to sing each part. My son, that I mentioned, my oldest son, sings the tenor and the bass part. So you can learn how to sing in 4-part harmony with your family. But even if you don't want to do that, there's so much more in the course. So there's 10 different hymns included. There's devotionals and Bible studies. There's actually a music lesson that goes with each hymn. Like Amazing Grace has a music lesson on the pentatonic scale, because that's how the music notes in Amazing Grace are written. And then there's also lots of videos, so you can hear choirs or worship teams singing the hymns. And it's a really fun course. I think everyone who's done it has loved it.
I'm gonna do a one last call for if you have any questions about electives or music or Gena's courses or anything, go ahead and ask them in the chat, because we're going to talk about her curriculum now. And then when we finish, we'll be wrapping up because we're coming close to our hour. So we'll be wrapping up. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. One thing I do want you to talk about, and you mentioned it already, is your membership. I know it's not open right now. So tell us what your membership is, what's included, and what the cost is when it opens.
Okay. So it's called Music in Our Homeschool Plus, and it's for preschool all the way through high school. And you get access to almost every course that I have included at learn.musicinourhomeschool.com. So it's the preschool course, the 16 elementary courses, the all ages courses, the high school courses, plus there are certain things that are only included in the membership, like beginning music theory, advanced music theory. There is a fine arts master class course that I brought in different fine arts teachers, and they teach you about dance or art or theater or music, and not just by me, but by a guitarist and a ukulele player and a singer, a male singer. So what else is there? You get a live lesson every month. I teach about a different composer, and we do activities to go along with that composer. And trying to remember if I missed anything. So there is a lot there. Oh, the most important thing, the thing that I use it for every day with my homeschooled kids during our morning time, is the calendar that tells you what lesson to do each day. You don't have to use it that way, but that's the easiest way. So I email those links every Sunday night, and you can just Monday morning open up your email and click it and play that lesson, that 15, maybe 30-minute lesson, but they're usually 15 minutes, and do that for your morning time every day, or just pick one or two to do a week. And you asked about the cost. It is $27 a month or $270 for the year. That means you're getting 2 months free. It will be open on August 1st.
So I told you guys that Gena she has some products inside the homeschool collection, which I forgot to mention. Let me see if I can pull that up so I can tell you which ones they are. So she has, is it one or two products?
It's just one. It's state songs of the 50 U.S. states. So that's one of my larger courses because there's 50 lessons there. And I did this along with one of the John Notgrass books. For the last 2 years, we kind of spread it out over 2 years. We did our 50 states, Notgrass, and we did the state songs of the 50 U.S. states. So we would study Alaska, and then we'd watch the music lesson that went with Alaska. And that was a really fun way. It's kind of sad that one's done. We're going to switch to world geography this next year, though.
And how much does that cost usually?
It's $40. So buying it as part of this collection, you're already saving $7, right?
Right. So I just put this is Gena's specific link in the chat. So I just put her link in there. And I wanted to tell you a little bit more about the collection. So she mentioned that there is that product in there, and it is usually $40. The collection that includes 50 products, that also includes the vendor hall with all of those freebies and a lot more, is only $33.99. So you're getting her course basically for free when you purchase it, because you're getting all of these other courses. If you do the math, if you use every single one, which we know people aren't, but if you do use every single one, it's the equivalent of getting them for like 68 cents a piece, which is bananas. It's crazy. Yeah. But so if you purchase the homeschool collection, that course is in there. But she also mentioned her her membership. And that's one thing that I wanted to talk to y'all about, because we usually do promote her membership, and we do fairly well with it. Our audience loves it. And you can see from the chat where people said that they participate and they love her membership as well. But there's something that we do after you purchase a collection. There is a bonus opportunity that comes up. I'm not going to tell you what all is included, and I'm not going to tell you what the price is, but it's nearly as cheap. I think it's like 95% off. But a month of her membership is in there. So not only do you get this course, but if you get that bonus, that's only available if you purchase a collection. We do not sell it otherwise. 30 days of her membership is in there. So that's another bonus. Like I said, guys, this thing is just full. It is chock full of information and products and freebies and courses and offers. And you really need to get in on it. And I know that Gena would appreciate you buying from her link as well.
Yes, I would.
So I've kind of been, as we're talking, I've kind of been checking through the chat, and it doesn't look like we've had anything else come through. I have not received, I haven't checked my email yet though. So if you have received, if you did, let's see if I can check my email really quickly. Okay. The person who won the course from earlier, if you can email me again, that email is hello@homeschoolresourcecode.com. And I'll talk with Gena about the best way to get that course over to you. Otherwise, Gena, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about before we kind of sign off?
Well, I was just looking at my notes, and I think I said everything. So if nobody else has any questions.
Let's see. It's going off just a little bit. Are the 50 States lesson and Hymns of Faith included in the Music in Our Homeschool, or separate purchases?
Yes, both of those are included in Music in Our Homeschool Plus membership.
So again, the value that is in the collection, and then the bonus that's offered.
I'm sorry. I'm wrong about that. The Great Hymns of the Faith is not included in the membership. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Well, I mean, the 50 States is. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, if you want to bundle that, let me put this up there one more time, bundle that 30% off that you're getting through this code to buy that course too. So extra bonus there. But if we don't have any other questions, I just want to thank you, Gena, for taking time to meet with us today and for helping homeschool families across the globe. I know everyone enjoys your membership. They enjoy the content that you put out. So it was an honor to have you here with us.
Thank you. And if anyone heads over to my course site at learn.musicinourhomeschool.com, there is my email address there. So you can email me any questions you think of later too.
Right. That's one thing I love about this community. All the people that we have on, they don't mind you emailing if you have a question or a concern or something else comes up. And you one thing I always like to say is, if you have content that you would like to see some of these people create, like if you think of something that's not in Gena's membership, let her know. That is how we help better serve you. So if you just want to browse through what she offers, and if there's something that you don't see there, send over an email to her and say, oh, I'd love it if you did this. And I bet that she'd do it.
Yes.
So again, thanks guys for joining us live. Don't forget, the homeschool collection is live as of today, and it's only available until the 21st. We don't have another webinar until Monday when we meet with Andrew from IEW. So I hope everyone is able to join us for that, because I know he's going to be fun to be with. And other than that, I just want to say thanks for coming by. And again, thanks, Gena.
Thank you.
All right. See y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Just a minute.